Hello, hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Sophia Lucia Parola with Garden State Film Festival, and I am super excited because this year, from March 21st through March 24th, you can come check out the 22nd annual Garden State Film Festival. We have another great year, over 200 films from 14 countries, all various topics, different types of films. We got features, shorts, pilots, music videos, animations. So much great stuff this year, as usual, in the New Jersey's premier indie festival. So, one of the films you can check out is a short film called Ambrosia. Here to talk with me about this beautiful film are these wonderful artists who were involved in making it. Hello, and thank you both for
Hi.
joining me.
Thank you for having us. It's so nice to see you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I love this film, and I'm so excited
Oh,
to talk to you guys about making it and about you both as artists. So, thank you for taking the time out to talk to me.
thank you
Absolutely. We're
for
so
having
excited to
us.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pleasure, pleasure.
So
Uh, yeah.
I'm Janelle. I'm Janelle Tedesco, and I am a writer and producer and actor on the film.
Awesome. And I
And
am
Amy,
Amy. I
who
was
are
the
you?
director.
Yeah.
I'm Amy. I was the director on Ambrosia.
Amazing. And Amy, weren't you also producer and like co-writer, or am I wrong in
Yeah, I
saying that?
mean, yes,
Being so
absolutely. Yes. Sorry.
humble.
To me, that's just like falls under the umbrella
Right.
sometimes on a short film. It's like you're like, of course I'm also
Oh,
producing
we're
it. What are you
saying it
talking
all.
about?
We are bragging about you guys. We're
Yes,
talking about
absolutely.
everything.
I
First,
did co-produce and co-write it with Janelle as well.
love it. And first, before I get into all my questions, what is Ambrosia? Can you tell us a little bit about the film?
Janelle, take it.
Sure.
You want to know
Yes.
about the film or the food?
Yeah.
The film, not the food.
we'll
Okay.
start. We'll start with the film. So Ambrosia is about two sisters, Joanne, who I play, and Bobby. And it takes place shortly after their mother's funeral. Bobby is coming from her home in New York City back to the small Midwestern town where they were raised, and Joanne still lives down the street. Joanne is upset because Bobby brought her girlfriend, her black girlfriend, to their mother's funeral, and she believes that her mother would have been very offended by this. But we find out throughout the course of the film that is not the case, that those feelings are all her own.
Hmm. Lovely synopsis. Like I said, I really love the film. I think it doesn't matter why I loved it. It's a great film. And my first question for you is, what was the inspiration for writing it? And I know that Amy, you also co-wrote it. So what was the inspiration for writing it, and then what was the writing process like working together, making the script?
Yeah, so I did the first draft, and the inspiration really came from the pandemic.
Mm,
Everything that we were seeing, I remember seeing interviews of people in the Midwest, and just really, really seeing on such a deep level how divided we are. And I think that what I really held on to was the fact that there are people who are very outwardly homophobic and racist, and we see them and they're very aggressive with it, they're ugly with it. But what there is so much more of in the country is people who have all those same feelings, but they don't know they do. They don't
mhm,
think they do. They don't address it. And it's worse because it's toxic and it spreads and it eats them, and they just have these thoughts and these
mm,
feelings that this isn't right and everybody should be straight and white and Catholic and blah, or whatever, whatever box they want to check off. And I guess that's just kind of where it came from wanting
mm.
to, pick at that scab a little.
Wow.
And then I got very lucky when I was telling Amy about what I wrote, and she was excited about it. She liked it, and she wanted to direct it and help me make it better and more authentic. So we worked on the script quite a bit together. We had meetings, and we talked about stuff, and it changed and progressed a lot. So I'll give you the baton now.
Yeah, yeah. I think what did draw me so much to the story originally is similar to what Janelle's talking about, but this sort of ability for a middle of the road thinking that allows us to be like, oh, that trait will die off with that generation. So I can just kind of sit back and be quiet about it and not like call out my elders or not
Mhm,
have a conversation with my elders about these things in a way that I think we're really incorrect in thinking it's dying off with certain generations. And that actually, like, what was so interesting to me about the character that Janelle plays is that she has to come to terms with the fact that this thing that she's saying, oh, I don't believe that, but I know that mom would. I don't necessarily think that. I don't like, I'm apolitical. I don't really get into it, but I'm representing what our mother would have loved. And we find out that actually, like, no, this mother was utterly capable. And, I love these stories of like 90-year-old grandmas who they're like, oh, you have new pronouns? Great, no problem. Meanwhile, the, mom and dad are wildly struggling with it. Like, so I was really interested in sort of that generational piece of we really have to own our own bias and our own issues and our own stuff and not, outwardly sort of put it on other people. The co-writing process for us was really fun. I think co-writing for me generally is like, let's start really broad and let's look at like, where does this go and who are these characters? And we're not really nitty grittying things before. And then by the time, you really get into like, let's look at this line and let's look at what we need the impact of this line to be. And that work was happening, throughout shooting.
Wow.
So
it sounds like this wasn't your first time co-writing, Amy. Have you guys ever worked together before, writing something?
Not in this capacity, no, but I have worked with writers and actually, my feature was a similar. I directed a feature that was a similar co-writing process with the lead. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
And speaking of these characters that unfortunately still exist in the world, no offense, Janelle, we see you play one of them in this film, playing Joanne. Did you write this for you, and have you ever played a character like this before?
That's actually a really interesting question, because when I wrote it, I did not write it for me to play that character. I wrote it for two sisters where I could have played either one. I was originally giving this script to someone else, and I wanted them to choose their role. It was like a competition type of thing, and it didn't work out. Like, I didn't get it. It didn't make it to that point. But now I was like, oh, I have these two characters that I can choose from. And even though I am straight, I am way more like Bobby than I am like Joanne. So I was like, this is going to be way more of a challenge to play this character that I find really icky. Because to make her real, I had to get all that. So it scared me. It scared me so much to do it. And I'm really glad that I chose that role. Even though watching it for the first time, we just premiered last week, made me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a question.
Yeah, you're terrible.
I mean, I was there shaking my head at the things you were saying, so I can't imagine shaking your head at yourself saying that.
It was weird, because in the moment I remember, I think I did a good job, because I don't remember feeling icky when I was doing it, but now I'm like, yeah.
Wow. So you've never played a character like Joanne before?
No.
Wow. All right. Well, tell me about Bobby and the other character we see. How did you find the rest of the cast? And I just want to say, amazing job casting as well, because so much of it is Bobby and Joanne and this conversation they have in one location. So I'm going to ask you about directing that, Amy, but tell me about how you found the character of Bobby and the other person we see in this.
It's interesting. We have so many talented friends, but we used Actors Access, and we had auditions. No lie, there are a ton of talented actresses that could be my sister. We had a lot to choose from for the Bobby role, for sure. And I don't know, Amy and I went back and forth a few times, but Amy is the name of the actress that plays my sister, Amy Russ.
Oh, the other actress who plays her name is Amy.
Yeah, it just became very obvious at one point, and when we both said it, it really clicked. And then on set, we really clicked. We had some rehearsals ahead of time.
Yeah.
Now the Lily role, I knew Kimberly ahead of time, and I had posted in a group, and she was like, oh, I'll audition for that. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, I bet she'd be great. And we still saw a few other people, and there was a few other choices, much less to choose from for that role, which was also an interesting process. But I loved what Kimberly did. I still watch it sometimes, and I'm like, she's so gracious and cool all at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. Not an easy character to play,
Oh,
and
the
so
nuance that she brings to that like so much that I can just see that's not on the page, and that we talked
Mhm,
about a lot and did a lot of work ahead of time
mhm,
about that dynamic and that relationship and that experience of being a Black woman walking into this house, and
mhm,
you know, it was the really specific turn. And obviously her character doesn't understand this, but just that turn from like how vile Joanne is being in this capacity, for this white female capacity, to
mhm.
turn it on and just be lovely and charming and hospitable, and how, yeah, you can just really see Lily processing that and kind of being like, I'm not buying it, but I'm gonna get out. Like, yeah, it's just she was stunning. She did stunning work with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
The entire cast, and like I said, I mean, all of it is you guys in this one location. So much of it is dialogue and what's not said as well. So, not an easy roles to play, and
Yeah.
you all killed it. Amy, tell me about directing it. What was important when directing this, and how you kind of went about it.
Yeah. I it's a really intimidating thing to direct a single location conversation piece. It is not cinematic inherently. It is absolutely not something that like you can rely a lot on camera work or light, you know, it is how do you shoot a play essentially
Right.
and make it interesting. Um I was very lucky, and I my cinematographer is my wife, so yeah, I was lucky that we had
I,
that great working
amazing work.
relationship.
Beautiful, beautiful work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So she and I talked a lot about like where can we be cinematic with this in a way that still feels really kitchen sinky and that feels um you know, really rooted in this house and in these colors, and so finding ways to add cinema to the mix, and it's not just talkie was like an interesting challenge and really fun to sort of tackle. And I will also say shout out, in addition to Jesse, our cinematographer, Daniel, our editor. Like, a huge part of making that interesting happens in the edit. A huge part of like, great, we let way too much air happen in that moment,
Mhm,
because in the moment watching what they're doing is really interesting, but then on camera we're like, cool.
mhm.
Like, that doesn't.
Right.
So that's a lot in the edit as well. um yeah, I think it was really fun. We spent a lot of time like, what did we do? This was a year ago. It was really fun to play with the space, and uh it was a really small location, but we had this sort of kitchen area that Joanne comes out. I'm like, also like, spoiler alerts, friends. That comes out of at the beginning, and Amy's character Bobby is sort of in the other peripheral, and sort of how
Mhm,
we played with the way that Bobby came in and out of that kitchen space that is really claustrophobic, and
mhm,
has this kitchen island and has these sort of bars on it, that Joanne is really stuck in. And that Bobby comes in and out of that space and ultimately leaves the space and never comes back to it. And so it
mhm.
was kind of fun to find like good metaphor in the space and
Wow.
really play with that, and how that elevated, like, how can we make this something more than just like, hi, we're standing
Yeah.
and talking at each other in a couple of different places.
Right.
That was all
And
very
you
intentional.
I love that. And I have to ask you, was it all handheld, this, or am I
Mm,
wrong in assuming that?
let me not mess this up. Okay, so Jesse is, in addition to being a cinematographer, a Steadicam operator.
Ah.
So she was playing with a new thing. Maybe people know this. It's called a ZG. And it is essentially a handheld mount that attaches to a Steadicam rig. So it is a
Wow.
little bit steadier than a traditional easy rig, in that it doesn't have as much movement on it, but you're not getting straight Steadicam, which is just really too clean. So it was all on the ZG, which was really cool because it did kind of give us this really unique
Yeah.
version of handheld.
It was
Yeah.
beautiful, and it added to everything. It was another element of the film. It was like another actor in the film.
Yeah.
It was
She'll
gorgeous
I
be
work.
love
And
it.
thrilled you noticed it.
Yeah, I love
oh, I love
that.
that. I love this stuff.
Yeah, I love that you noticed it.
Yeah.
And it's
So many
cool.
more
It's like,
questions.
it is right. Yeah, I feel like so often in
Yeah.
between, you know, handheld or steady or sticks or whatever my options are, I'm kind of like, is there something in between? And like, yes, the
Uh-huh, and there
ZG.
is, you guys found that.
Yeah,
Amazing, and I
yeah.
know that you have to, like, do some intense training just to be a Steadicam operator too, so, like,
Yes, that is a very niche thing.
fucking
She's
go
very
Jessie.
talented.
Amazing. I know we're running out of time, but I really wanna ask both of you, Janelle, first you as an actor, I mean, like we mentioned, so much of this is a conversation, and it's so organic, and you guys the cast just worked so well together. What's important when I mean, when acting with something that's heavy on dialogue, what was important as an
Yeah.
actor to do?
Well, I mean, our backstory, of course, you know, like we really spent a lot of time figuring out what we meant to each other, coming up with our own things individually. But what I kind of enjoyed on set occasionally when, you know, if Amy and Jesse were working on something with the camera and Amy and I were, the other Amy, and I were getting ready to do a scene, I remember every now and then we would be like, do you remember that time when we were kids? And we would just kind of say something that would spark something in us, and we'd make a memory. Like that didn't happen in real life, but we'd make it, and then all of a sudden we'd picture it, and we like added to our relationship again right in between filming. And that was one of my favorite things that happened, because we had to build a lifetime together and a lifetime of ignoring each other as well. And that was really fun to do. And I really felt like we had a familial
Mhm.
family like relationship
Yeah.
Yeah.
by the end of it.
It absolutely
Yeah.
showed. And Amy, I mean, similar question. I know you already mentioned it, using the space and the camera was also a huge element, but is there
Yeah.
something really important when directing a piece that's heavily on the actors and dialogue?
I think in anything, but yes, more so when there's dialogue, is really rooting your characters and like, what are the given circumstances? What is the space you're actually in? Objectives, tactics, obstacles, because that's what can make lacking those things can really make it just feel one note. So
Mhm.
if you're not really tearing apart, like, what is the objective, what is the tactic that you're employing here to get what you need in this space, or react or respond to this space or this other character, and when that doesn't work, how do you need to change a tactic, or when this changes in the room, what does that mean? So like really rooting in that stuff so that it all feels kind of like at any moment something else could happen, which is always the goal. Hopefully we
Mhm.
got there with this very dialogue heavy piece.
I was just gonna say
Yeah,
it was so complex, not one note at all, and it was just always interesting and ever changing and organic at the same time. I'm a huge fan of it. It was beautiful to watch.
thank you
Definitely
so
running out of time.
much.
Thank
Oh,
you
of course.
so
I mean,
much.
I'm so excited for our audiences to see it at Garden State Film Festival. And have you guys ever been to this festival before?
I have. Yeah.
Janelle has. I haven't. This will be my
Okay.
Yeah.
first time. I'm thrilled.
So what do you love about the festival, Janelle? And how's it feel to have Ambrosia screening at this year's 22nd annual?
Oh, it feels great. Just the people. I think that everyone that's a part of the festival, like they come back every year and they just love to be there. And everyone likes to connect. So I can't wait for the Meet the Filmmakers night, because it's like a community in itself, I think.
Mhm.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to go back.
I'm so excited for you to be there for the first time, Amy, and Janelle for you to be back. And like I said,
Me
for audiences
too.
to see Ambrosia. Thank you guys so much. Let me tell everyone watching how you can watch this amazing short film. It'll be screening Sunday, March 24th. The film block starts at 2:45 at Berkeley Hotel. Like Janelle just mentioned, we have Meet the Filmmakers night. There's so many screenings, like I mentioned earlier, over 200 films. There's parties, events, lots of great stuff. Definitely check out gsff.org/tickets to get tickets to any of the screenings. You could also get a Parkway pass that gets you in all of the screenings, and then tickets to the events themselves. So definitely check that out. Thank you both so much again, and I hope to see you guys at the festival.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.